Grim.
I'm Zolgar. That's Kaiju.
And this is Two Idiots and a Dog, Idiots on Film.
Where we explore movies that we love.
Or think are important for pop culture. This week, we're talking about The Old Guard.
So, honestly, it's been long enough since we picked this movie that I don't remember exactly why we chose it. But, you know, it's a little bit newer of a movie, and back in season 1, we were a little too heavy on older films. And, yeah, this one it's an action movie that's got a little bit more going on than just, you know, your typical classic action movie. Plus, Grim will just take any excuse at all to see Charlize Theron with a battle axe.
And how?
But, you know, one more thing before we start the episode.
Oh, God, what now?
Did you know we have a poll going for Listener's Choice episodes?
You mean like letting our fans pick a movie for us?
Exactly like that.
That's a terrible idea.
I know, right? It's on Patreon and will run through the end of October.
Patreon? Doesn't that mean they have to be a patron to vote? God, you're an idiot.
No, it's public. Anyone can vote. Just go to patreon.com/tiaadmedia.
Okay, but you're still an idiot.
Yeah, well, so are you. And that's a dog.
Da 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 da. Okay.
You're hilarious. But looks aren't everything.
A face for radio and a voice for silent movies.
Hey, that's my line.
Alright. So, The Old Guard. What makes this movie good?
Charlize Theron with a battle axe?
I mean, yes, but... Other than Charlize Theron with a battle axe, what makes this movie good?
The fact that it's got, Chuetel, I forgot how to pronounce his last name.
I mean, you're kind of almost there.
The fact that the screenplay was written by the guy who wrote the comic book?
Now you're just pointedly dancing around.
The special effects?
Kaiju, bite him.
The gay kiss?
I mean, the gay kiss is part of it. Also, it wasn't just a gay kiss. They were straight up making out. That was some sloppy, wet, hard makeouts in the middle of that van surrounded by guys armed with guns.
Hey, I don't kink shame.
Alright. Characterization is what makes this movie good. Off to a great start.
Does Kaiju make this movie good?
No, because Kaiju is not in this movie.
Well, then this movie is bull.
So is your face! We put up with that! I have to pet your dog now. It's very important. Okay, with that important task out of the way. So when I say characterizations and characters and such make this movie good, what am I talking about?
I don't know. What are you talking about? I wasn't paying attention.
You don't pay attention when I talk anyway.
Did you guys hear something?
Could you come here for a moment?
No. I'm not even completing the bit. That's how little I care right now.
You see what I have to work with?
You see what I have to work with? Why did I agree to this again?
Because it let you pimp your dog's pictures to the internet at large.
I mean, I could do that anyways.
As all production ceases because the dog has entered into petting range. We're professionals. Okay, so characterization. Back on track here. On the surface, this just sounds like another weird Hollywood action fest, right? Like, an immortal group of warriors, blah, 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 blah. And, yeah, the premise itself is hokey as all hell.
I mean, yeah, kind of is, but...
That execution, though.
Which execution? There were a bunch of executions in this movie.
The execution of the movie, not the people in the movie.
They killed the movie? Why did they kill the movie?
Gods that I don't believe in, grant me the serenity to not murder my co-host.
Oh.
The characterizations are what makes this movie. It's all the little details, and the thing of it is, those characterizations go beyond just the acting and the dialogue. Even the fight choreography contains the elements of these characters. And I'm just gonna keep going as long as you keep laughing over there, asshole.
Oh.
God.
Well, we know where my headspace is right now, so... But yeah, this is a movie where there is a lot of attention to detail in every aspect of the screenplay. The fight choreography, the little character moments. There is so much to it. And this group of ancient immortal warriors, they still all feel like people.
Yeah, it's... One of the earlier scenes were shown that really hammers this home, and it's going to sound like the dumbest thing in the world if you haven't seen the movie. Baklava.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie or you haven't seen it in a while, which if you haven't seen it, you should really go watch it. It's a lot of fun. But there's this scene early on where the team gets back together because they've been apart for a little while, and one of them has baklava for Andy. That's Charlize Theron's character. And they start putting money down, and it's like they're placing bets, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then she starts taking a couple bites of it and just starts kind of rattling off the details of it, about, like, what it's made out of, what its ingredients are, and to finally closes in on just where this baklava was made.
And nails it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're talking like hazelnut, not walnut, rose water. And, like, as she's going down, she's narrowing it by region based on those flavors. And that tells us two things. One, these characters know each other well enough to know she really likes baklava, and they've made a game out of her interest.
Yeah, and it does just show that this team has been working together long enough that they are not just a mercenary crew. They are a family.
And it also shows us one other important thing. That Andy has been around long enough and tasted so many variations of baklava that she can narrow it to a location based on flavor.
Now, how old is Andy?
We don't know. The only clue we have to her actual age is that her name is Old Greek. Like, days of myth and legend Old Greek.
Yeah. We know that... So, we know that the second oldest pair active, they became immortal during the Crusades.
Yeah. And we know that Andy predates them by a lot.
We know that years before that, Andy was with others, one of whom died because the Immortals do eventually stop being immortal.
Eventually the regeneration stops.
And the other one gets the most horrific fate of anybody in this movie.
Yeah. Like, you can't say she got fridged because, well, immortal.
And, that little stinger right at the end.
But fridging might have been kinder.
Oh, yeah.
So this immortal character is shoved into a steel coffin, basically, and dumped in the ocean to contain her because, she's a witch.
Yeah, so this immortal character has spent 500 years dying and coming back to life in the ocean and dying again and coming back to life and just... And
it's implied that doing so made her a little crazy. And, well, yeah, it would. And what we know is that Andy predates her.
By a lot.
Andy wandered alone and immortal for,
They just said a very long time.
And then she finally met Quinn.
Yeah. And so we know that she met Quinn significantly more than 500 years ago.
Yes.
So if Andy is less than 1,000...
I will be very surprised if Andy is less than 1,000. Well, we know she can't be less than 1,000. She has to be... I mean, if she's old school Greek, that's BC.
Yeah, so that would be in the 2000s.
Minimum. Probably older. Because it is 2020 in that movie, when that movie came out.
Yeah, so, I mean, she could easily be 21, 22.
I would have to actually go look up ancient Greek stuff. But she could be older. I know the oldest civilization is the stuff in the Sumer region, I think. And that was like 3,000 or 4,000 BC. So she's going to be after that. She could be in her age, not year range. She could be as old as 3,000 to 4,000, yeah. Which is staggering. And the cool part of it is you see that in her character throughout the movie. All these little things. I was talking about this with you earlier, before the recording session and everything, but like, she's the one who's allowed to be an action hero.
Yeah. She is the ultimate badass. There's literally a line in the movie where Booker tells Nile that she has forgotten more about killing than most armies will ever know.
Yeah, and when I say action hero, I mean she's doing the full-bore Hollywood stunts, taking down a room full of dudes with a sword, type of just ridiculous, over-the-top action stunt crap. And it works for her because she's just that old, been fighting for that long. And even the other characters' ages are still apparent in their fighting styles. You've got Nikki and Joe, who move in perfect unison at all times because they have always been together.
They killed each other more than once.
In the Crusades. Booker works with the team because they've been working together for a long time, but he's also got this kind of more methodical, calmer combat style where he kind of just shuts off and does the job.
Yeah. Whereas with Nikki and Joe, it's almost a dance. And then, of course, we see Nile, who is brand new to the team, but she's a Marine.
Yeah, so she's got the chops.
She's got the chops, and she has experience working with a team and having a coordinated effort.
Yeah, and she does great. Totally picks apart these paramilitary security guys that they're going up against. But they somehow managed to get the choreography just right, where compared to the rest of the team, she looks sloppy, even though she's not.
Yeah. The choreography in this is amazing.
The fact that they took the time to break down the individual characters' personalities and put that into the choreography.
Yeah, each character shows through in their fighting style, in every aspect of them. And also, props to the stunts department and the actors themselves for the amount of work they had to put in on that choreography to get it as smooth and as clean as it is.
Yeah, I have no idea how many takes that took or how many practice sessions that took, but the end result was definitely worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you're looking at these fights, and this mercenary crew seems like a mercenary crew that has been working together forever, that knows each other's moves, and just they know that they always know that someone is right there. It's that kind of thing of being able to just, at one point someone just tosses one of the other ones a gun without even looking.
Yeah, and he just catches it smoothly, turns around, and pops a dude.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of movies where that smoothness would be out of place and jarring and unrealistic. But because these are immortals who have worked together for hundreds of years, no, it makes perfect sense. It works perfectly.
Yeah. And, of course, on the characterizations, there are a couple of other characters that need to be mentioned because...
Well, we've got our catalyst to the whole plot, Copley.
Yeah.
He's the one who hires the team on to do a gig, and then it turns out he's working for our bad guy, who is another one we need to talk about, Merrick.
Yeah, Merrick is... Harry Melling plays Merrick so well that you just want to throw him off a building.
He's every tech bro, pharma guy that you've ever hated.
You take Taika Waititi's character from Free Guy, and you make him even more of an and less thinking he's cool.
Yeah. And it's a very believable character, and it's one of those characters who carries the conviction of believing that what they're doing is not only right, but will make them money.
But yeah, he's definitely that character that...
So you just want to punch him.
Yeah, and he believes in the greater good for the world as long as the greater good for the world also turns a profit.
And it's great watching him twist that into his justifications in the movie, because you know industry people like that.
Yeah. And also, he uses it to justify being a sadist, because he has this very much...
I'm going to be honest, he stabbed Joe repeatedly, and I don't think that's the first time he stabbed a motherfucker.
And it was not a... This was not a scientific, I want to see I want to see this for myself. That was I want to hurt somebody.
I mean, he did just get headbutted, but, that's still not justification for how violent that was.
Yeah.
Also, he totally deserved to be headbutted.
He very obviously did not consider the Immortals people.
No, they were assets. And the way he talked about them, the way he planned around them, it was clear he just considered them assets.
Yeah, he considered them his property. And that was kind of what led to Copley turning against him, is the realization that he didn't just want the data.
He wanted to control them, because, as he put it, and let them wander into the arms of my competitors?
Yeah.
All I know is Niles didn't smash him into that car hard enough. And to be clear, she smashed him into that car pretty hard.
Yeah. You know when I said that he was a character you want to throw off a building?
Niall took it further and tackled him off a building and into a parked car.
Tackled him off of a building at the penthouse.
Into a parked car.
Into a parked car.
You ever notice that the camera very carefully didn't focus on him during that whole scene? Because that would pretty much be Chetney. That would be pulp. And that's a little more gore than what this movie was presenting.
Yeah.
But this movie does present some gore. We see these wounds that they're taking and we watch them heal, and props to the effects department.
Yeah, in the first sequence where we see this happen, you actually watch a wound on the face, bruise, and then that bruise start to heal. And it's just that level of detail work is...
Yeah, it went from just a open wound to bruising to the wounds closing and then the bruise fading.
Yeah.
And it was expertly done. And yeah, I know they already did it in X-Men, but watching that bullet pop out of the forehead, it was still, yeah.
I've always been kind of annoyed when regenerative powers, though, push the bullet back out.
Yeah, but they have a very specific kind of regeneration.
Yeah, because their regeneration also fully properly resets bones.
Yeah, and you watch that happen. It's not just the camera looks away and then turns back and their arm is fine again with no explanation about how that bone got set. You watch that bone shift back in. I'll be honest, there are a few times where watching the bones shift around is a little, nah.
There's one thing I am very curious about their regenerative factor, though.
What was that?
Does it extend to their teeth?
That is a really good question. I don't know.
Because humans have 2 sets of teeth. Their baby teeth and their adult teeth.
And when your adult teeth are screwed, you're screwed.
Yeah. So either it extends to their teeth, or these guys have managed to perfectly take care of their teeth for hundreds of years or thousands when there was not the technology to do so, or
look,
they've got some really amazing dental work.
Turns out there's actually a hidden immortal who's a dentist. All he does is teeth. Yeah, what makes this not just a hokey Hollywood action fest is these character details injected into everything.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Copley.
The seeds of his opening betrayal were given to you in that first conversation.
Yeah, when he talks about his wife dying, and there's also his just general casualness. I love the fact that in that first scene with him, after Andy and Booker leave, he just turns and looks up at the sniper and waves at them.
Yeah.
Just like he knew that he knew what was going on, and he was still just...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Nikki at the scope just smirks a little bit because you can't help but kind of like him. You can't help but like Copley a little bit. And then we get the full betrayal and the consequences of that betrayal. And then the consequences of the consequences where he realizes he has screwed up. And it's that conversation with Niall, where he's just this broken man. In that moment, talking to Niall, he's not just describing his wife's last days. He's reliving them in his head.
Yeah. And he is looking at, and he shows Niall all of the amazing things that this mercenary crew has done. All of the things that Andy has caused to happen through random chance, essentially.
As he puts it in I think it was in the epilogue, when you've been around as long as Andy has, the effect she has, the good she does, is exponential. Because this isn't just, oh, she saved a guy and it turns out that guy did something cool. It's, she saved a guy and that guy's granddaughter went on to invent whatever cure. This guy's grandson went on to develop this groundbreaking technology. This one went on to get the Nobel for this treatment. It's multiple ripple effects. All because Andy and her team saved a person here and a person there. And that brings us to one of the more interesting to me sub-themes of the film, and that is when you are in it, as Niall puts it, you can't see the effect you're having. And no, most of us in our day-to-day lives are not going to be saving the world or having any widespread, meaningful, permanent effect on everybody's life. But every life you touch creates a little ripple effect, and you can't see that effect unless you've got someone else outside of your little bubble to point it out occasionally. Now, in day-to-day life for us, that's going to be... the scale of that is way smaller. I mean, I'm even without factoring in the immortal part, like, I'm not an operator, you're not an operator.
We might touch a few lives with the podcast, you know, so hey, maybe we make someone's day better. And I'm sorry if our podcast makes your day better. I'm sorry.
That's rough, buddy. I have some friends who, not to get too deep on Maine here, but I do have a couple of friends who have stated that for whatever reason, they're still around because I'm their friend. And, first of all, I'm sorry. But second of all, sometimes that's it. That's all you do. That is the effect you have, but it's still net positive. It's just, it's easy to lose ourselves in the daily grind in the meantime. You know?
Especially when daily grind is so soul-sucking and just crushes everything.
Yeah. And that's just another facet of the character. Like, I'm telling you, man, what makes this movie is the characterization. This would be just another dumb-premised Hollywood hokey action fest. Without those characterizations woven so thoroughly into the entire movie. The effects, the choreography, the dialogue, the acting, the camera direction. I mean, God, the acting. I want to do a quick shout-out real quick to one of the cast members. There is a scene towards the climax of the film where Niall's getting ready to go get everybody out. And in that moment, she's talking to Copley, and Copley, to his credit, is ready to throw down. He's ready to make it right by going in and backing her up and getting them out of there because he put them there.
Even if it costs him his life.
And she talks him down. She says that's not how he's going to be able to help, really. She recognizes that, and she's the one with her immortality who's likely to walk back out. So she talks him down, and in that moment, she's very compassionate and very, you know, leaning into her humanity and while she's talking to him. And he leaves, and she gets in the elevator, and now she's scared because there's a recurring theme throughout the movie of the trauma taking life can inflict. She's a Marine. She started the movie by killing someone, and she's had nightmares about it the entire movie. And she's going into a situation, like you brought up in the note session, where she's gonna have to kill a whole lot of people to get her friends out. And she doesn't want to do that, and she's scared. And the doors close, and she puts her game face on. And just the transition to transition to transition between those three states, like mad props to Kiki Layne for selling that.
Yeah. And it is worth noting here really quick, if you're, you know, maybe you're someone who doesn't have many friends who are in the military, or you're just not aware of it, a lot of people, a lot of soldiers, even Marines, can be deployed into active combat zones and still never kill anyone. Now, just a quick note, do not ask your friends who are deployed if they killed anybody. That is major bullshit. If they bring it up with you, that's a different story, but don't ask.
You ever kill anybody? Don't. Just don't. Do not be that guy. Don't.
Because, honestly, if they have, even if every part of them knows that it was the right thing to do in the moment, it was unavoidable, they probably still struggle with it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, I'm sorry, they're slightly terrifying.
They should probably not be doing that job. But yeah, and there's one more character moment I gotta shout out. The back of the truck. Because you gotta bring it up quick, right?
Well, so those two, Joe and Nikki, have this dynamic of being these old friends and lovers who are still just as much in love with each other now as they were however many hundreds of years ago that they first fell in love.
Yeah, they're supportive of each other, they joke with each other, they're comfortable with each other, but they still have that passion. And there's a scene in particular where it's even flat out stated they still have that passion. And it's after they are taken at the church. They're in the back of the truck, zip-tied and chained.
And Joe is trying to check on Nikki, and one of the guys in the truck is like, oh, what is he, your boyfriend or something?
And, it's the characterizations, because Nikki immediately gets this expression of, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, that's just kind of half frustrated, half amused, knowing what's about to happen. And Joe goes into this borderline poetic, what would you call that?
I have referred to it in my notes as an anti-homophobic poetry rant.
Yeah, I mean,
because
it's this ode to what Nikki means to him.
Okay, if any of you have ever read like the old school, Arabic romantic sonnet poems, that's what he's tapping in the back of that van, like to just, and it's great because he starts by calling this guy like an infant, a child, to his face, and then expounding on all the reasons that he's childish and immature about this, and how much Nikki means to him, with this very evocative verbal imagery.
You hopeless romantic.
And then they make out, zip-tied in the back of a van surrounded by guys with guns.
I don't kink shame. The great part is, then the guys in the back of the truck with guns try to pull them apart.
And the next time we see them, everybody in that van but Nikki and Joe is dead.
Well, at least in the back of the van. The driver is still alive.
Theoretically. Can we get these chains off? Because, and that right there, by the way, is another example. Zip-tied and chained, these guys took out there were like, what, 4, 6 of them?
I think there were 4.
Like, that is impressive.
There's one other moment of character I think needs to be brought up.
Okay.
Booker, when he is talking to Niall about immortality and about growing old and watching your family, or not growing old, but watching your family grow old and watching your family die of, in the case that he was specifically referring to, one of his sons dying of cancer. And
they're going to want you to share that gift. And you can't.
Yeah,
and they won't believe you. Ah! My heart.
So, you can understand why Booker wanted it end. Why Booker just was tired. And he knew that Andy was tired too and was just...
Yeah. And then...
he wanted out.
And then he realizes as it goes that he screwed up. Really bittersweet ending on that note, because, on the one hand, yes, the price had to be paid, as Andy puts it. But the timing of everything is just... I think this part of it is Booker's timing was just crap.
Yeah.
And because as the movie progresses, Andy loses her regeneration. And the punishment that Booker's given is when in 100 years, they'll meet him at the spot where they tell him that they're sending him out alone. Yeah. And that means he's not seeing Andy again.
Unless she gets her regeneration back.
We'll see what happens in the sequel. I genuinely don't know what to expect there.
And of course, I love his response to that too. I was hoping for less, but I expected more.
Niall wanted you to let you off with an apology. Yeah, they can't lock him up. They know what that will do.
Yeah, and they don't want to essentially kill him. They just, you have hurt the group. You need to go over there and think about what you've done for a while. Go stand in the corner, nose touching.
for 100 years. We're not doing this movie justice.
No, it's...
I want to be clear. All these little moments, if these moments sound great to you, I promise you, we're not doing them justice.
Yeah.
Should I just give up on the premise that we're not telling people to go watch things anymore? Because it seems like it keeps coming up.
Hey, don't we have unbiased opinions?
Sure. Totally unbiased.
I mean, yeah,
I'll be honest. That's everything I have. Do you have anything else you want to touch on? Because we talked about the effects, how the characterizations are woven through everything in this movie.
Let me take a quick gander at my notes here. So I think the only thing that I would add on my notes here that we haven't already touched on is just how much detail this movie goes into in showing the tragedy of immortality. You know, I kind of touch on that with Booker's scene, but it's all of it. It's how jaded Andy has become and how alone everyone is, and they're just tired. The
only ones truly living are Niall, who she's fresh.
Yeah,
she's new. And Joe and Nikki, because they have each other.
Yeah, they have each other, and they are still so very much in love. And I mean, if one of them stops regenerating before the other,
yeah, that's
gonna be. And I'll be honest, I was actually expecting one of those two to not make it through the movie.
I'm glad they did. They just
partially because
can you imagine if they managed to fit Bury Your Gaze into a movie about immortals?
Yeah, that would have been.
I would be a little upset.
That would be a little bit bullshit.
Yeah, everybody talks about how cool it would be to be immortal, but there's gonna be good, sure. But it is going to be a very lonely experience. You are going to spend a good chunk of your time feeling completely disconnected from the world around you.
In the immortal words of Queen, who wants to live forever?
Well, that's a great segue if ever I've heard one. I want to leave you all with one final note. And it's probably going to piss some of you off. At the end of the day, this is an amazing movie. Is it the best movie ever made? No. But it's an amazing movie because the level of characterization and detail that goes into everything interweaves together to create something that is honestly greater than the sum of its individual parts.
We say that a lot.
We do. And we mean it every time. So, in closing, The Old Guard. Highlander, done better.
No, it's not Highlander. Because Highlander, they had to kill each other to become God.
Yeah, but Andy was already a god.
That's it for this week. Please consider rating, reviewing, following, and all of that other nonsense on your favorite podcast platforms.
If you'd like to tell us how much of idiots we are or send Kaiju fan mail, you can email us at tiaadmedia@gmail.com, or you can join us on Discord and the various social media platforms linked in the show notes.
You should also check out this great podcast. Who are we promoting again this week?
I don't know. We record these well in advance. I guess we just have to listen to the promo to see who it is.
Welcome to Review It Yourself, the film podcast. I am so bad at this. So bad at this stuff. I hate, this selling yourself. I know that's kind of the point because you need people to listen to you. But, I'm not naturally enthusiastic. If I love a film like The Mummy or something like that, I'm the 1999 one, not that filth, not that 2017 filth, right? See, passionate, but I don't have that natural enthusiasm. So, I struggle to sell myself, sell my podcast. Look, it's me, Sean, just talking to other people who like talking about films. Might be my family, my mum, my sister, other people in my family. Might be my mates in real life. It might be other podcasters who come on, we waffle, we have a chat, no real structure to it. Through a few segments thrown in every now and again. But just a chat really, like you'd have with your mates if you were sat in the pub or whatever. But yeah, come and give it a go.
That was the greatest promo I have ever heard. It moved me to tears.
It was so good, I already forgot who it was for. Guess I have to go check the show notes now.
We'd also like to give a quick thank you to our supporters on Patreon and Ko-fi.
Especially these idiots.
Random Warrior and Layne. Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you.
If you like what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon or Ko-fi.
You can get access to episodes a week early, shout-outs in our episodes, and special behind-the-scenes bonus content.
Also, we won't put commercials in the Patreon episodes.
You can find us at patreon.com/tiaadmedia and kofi.com/tiaadmedia.
And of course, you can find those links in our show notes as well.
And as always, thank you for listening to Two Idiots and a Dog.